that.
Like
Welcome back
this.
to Liquid Lunch.
Back to this
Here
again.
we are.
Yes, we're here with Dr. Josh. Josh, with a perfectly placed lavalier microphone, Dr.
We
Josh.
did our best to be perfect.
That's right.
Okay, so let's get right down to it.
So I'm going to ask you both a question, and
okay,
I'd like
that's
you
a
to
good idea. Sure.
We're
chime
getting
in with
into
a
it.
response at the same time.
Oh,
And
you want us to
hopefully-
talk at the same time?
Just for this question.
Just like
Okay.
that in the play. Okay, go.
So Hugh and Aaron, who is your best doctor?
No, I am my best doctor.
That
And
makes
Hugh
sense.
silently said the
I might
same
have to
thing.
I
be
mean,
Yes,
once
too.
I heard it, I thought that sounds like probably
The
right
answer is me.
Me,
Yeah.
okay.
Me,
Right.
absolutely. I've just come back from an awesome seminar in California this weekend, so I'm both passionate, excited, and a little lost for words, but also frustrated and pissed off at other stories I hear. So it all wraps together
Okay.
into the picture of health. But what's most apparent, and I'm reminded of, is how many people forget that they are their own best doctor.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the chiropractor, the acupuncturist, the medical. They go to their health professional, their person of choice. And it happens to me. People are like, whatever you say, that's what I'll do. That's the answer. And as Aaron can attest, it's about listening to your body. It's about listening to what's going on inside of you that so many people ignore, or think, well, I don't know. I don't want to trust myself, and they go into a professional. And just yesterday, I'm going to an auto shop for a stop in and a payment. Guy sits down, or he's sitting there and says, "Oh, you're a chiropractor?" "Yeah." And he went into this huge rant, which I don't need to share because it was frustrated and ugly. But the short story is his wife had seen a chiropractor in her experience for his lower back. It was neck. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was having a mechanical physical stress issue and goes into this family doctor who was covering for his doctor, who said, he says, do you think I should try some therapy? And the guy's, no, here's a prescription. And it was an adamant doctor, and I'm not bashing the doctor. Like, it's all about listening. And this guy was completely pissed off, and he's ranting at me and just kind of venting. And I was excited that he was venting about it, that he was frustrated that he got this prescription, and he went downstairs and didn't get it filled out at the pharmacy. He's still suffering with the problem, but it's more apparent to me how many people get stuck in that rut. They think, I don't know what to do. I want to go to a health professional. And they want to hear the truth, but they tend to hear opinions. And I know I've gotten into an opinionated perspective on something without asking the right questions, making sure I know who I'm dealing with, what they think about their health, how they perceive the way their body works, and to make sure that we agree. And if we don't agree, try to get to an agreeable point. And if we can't get to an agreeable point, then I say goodbye to that person. Or I find a way to say, maybe I'm not the right healthcare provider for you. There's too many drugs.
Thank you for sharing that.
And again, I don't want to harp the negative, but it's still a thing where, even talking to my girlfriend and other friends where it's, well, there was a headache or there was a this, and I took the Tylenol, the Advil, the ibuprofen, and nothing worked, or I hoped it would work. And even on such a micro level, I'm sure I'm going to get flack for mentioning my girlfriend in this as she watches it later, but people they tend to be okay with, it was a couple of Tylenol. I'm not really toxifying my system, but it's not true. And that's where research can show and studies can show that even just a Tylenol a day, troubles the kidney and the stomach, and it really builds up over time when people think, well, it's just one tablet. It's not that I'm overdosing. It's not that I'm,
Right.
Going, whole hog on it.
Now, because I used to take Tylenol,
Right.
and I don't take Tylenol now. And in fact, I try to stay away from painkillers as much as possible. But I used to take them every time I had any kind of a pain, and then I found I was getting more pain. Like, it was like any kind of pain, just pop a Tylenol, and then I'm starting to get more pain. And now that I'm not taking it at all, I hardly ever get any pain.
There's always a side effect.
And I was
Absolutely.
feeling side effects with Tylenol. But you're talking about the damage that can build up.
Yeah.
And just a quick,
No,
almost
please.
a personal question, but can your body get rid of that stuff if you stop taking the Tylenol? Can you get rid of
Yes.
the toxicity in your liver?
Well,
and
that
so forth?
that turns the story to the other exciting side, is how amazing the human body is. It's We have our own pharmacy inside. We have our own cleansing system, detoxification, pain reducing endorphins. Everything is inside that we need. To be healing and regulating naturally, the body doesn't need anything outside of nature, whether it be diet or emotional stuff or even just physical activity. What the body doesn't need is interference. So the chemical accumulation of painkillers, if stopped, just like cigarette smoking and the nicotine and build up, absolutely, even the tar, that can evacuate if you give it enough time. I don't have any research quotes on that, but in my mind, absolutely, you untrain the body from old habits, and the body cleanses itself out as long as you stop interfering with the natural process.
Kind of like nature knows what to do, so does our body. We're a part of that nature.
Well, I asked my patients this week after getting back, like, can you all define the subluxation? And most of them have that concept, but it always comes back to a physical description of a spinal misalignment. And what it was reminded of me this week, in which I know, but sometimes expressing it gets exciting again, is the subluxation is a power problem. We were all designed, created whenever and by whoever by a power, by this innate intelligence, a force that says we're going to create a human being, and we're going to do it naturally, and we're going to, the nature of the system says we know exactly how to form each person perfectly. We are all a version of perfect as we're in the womb developing, without stress. And that power is communicated through the conduits of the nervous system. That physical nerve connection makes sure every part of the body communicates properly. And again, have no interference, you have near perfection of health and life and potential. So when we have subluxation, we have interference, we have a power problem. And that's something I'm making sure people know. It's about the energy flow. We can think of sixth sense communication with people. And I was thinking about Hugh when he thought, you can probably feel that happening, or I should be contacting Dr. Josh somewhere. There's just that sixth sense, but there's also the direct energy flow within each of our bodies, how everything communicates based on power. Power, energy. It's call it, the innate intelligence of the body, and it's a weird concept for some to hear and absorb, but a power gives us life. And most of our lifestyle takes away from that power, and it's basically a struggle that way. That's what most people are dealing with, and why they have symptoms, why they have neck pain, back pain, chronic pain, headaches. I mean, you name it, they're all typically expressions of a power struggle. And that's what chiropractic is really geared towards, is resolving the power struggle so the body gets back to nature. Natural healing, natural regulation.
Right, okay. Because as we know, when the spine is working properly,
Everything.
Well, and even right there, as you say, spine, it's a physical thing. And I'm not harping on what you're saying, but I hear like, what's the subluxation? Well, you're misaligned, you're crooked. I'm like, that's correct, but it really comes down to inside that hard bone spine is the spinal cord and the nerves.
Right.
And it's tension, stress, pressure, chemically, emotionally, physically, that create problems within the spine.
It's stopping the energy from flowing. That life energy that helps us to heal ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
So it's, again, a whole life shift too. So people have to remember, it's not just about going to appointments. It's about making sure you don't allow those stressors into your life and shifting the way you are.
Completely.
For better health.
And there's the stark reality is we all have stress. We all have enough negative stress that can accumulate, and that's the big reason that I check children and I monitor children and I adjust them if necessary, because keeping the stress off their system, keeping it from accumulating at the earliest of ages is the easiest way to do it, plain and simple. Everybody else, myself included, have accumulation of negative stressors just because of the way we live. I've said before, if you aren't able to float around on a magic carpet, being fed perfect nutrition through a tube, you're going to have stress.
Right.
And no one floats around on a magic carpet, but there are certain people with extreme stress levels that have built up, others with very light levels. And that's what I love to do, is interpret that quantity of stress. And again, making sure people can turn their lifestyle around
Mm-hmm.
or moderate it so that they have less stress incurring, less issues that may come up.
And I think part of it too is that, because you're talking about we are our own best doctor,
Yes.
right? And part of that means we need to be in tune with what our body is
Mm-hmm.
telling us.
Very much so.
Right? And a lot of times, I correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're in a bad lifestyle where you're eating a lot of chips and drinking a lot of pop and stuff like that, you are interfering with your ability to listen to your body, or with your body's
You are
ability.
absolutely putting on the
Yeah.
chemical blinders,
Yeah.
no question.
Mhm.
And I see enough people who go through that diet, and I watch people walk away from the McDonald's counter and they've eaten, and they're kind of in
Mhm.
that
Oh man,
that drift,
I
and they
know.
don't know it. And I say this strongly, and I realize it more and more that everyone I adjust, everyone I look after, hears their body better.
Mhm.
There's just it's a side effect. The biggest side effect of chiropractic is you feel your body more. You can't ignore it.
Mhm.
And I know when I cheat, I have unhealthy snacks. I have unhealthy meals once in a while because it feeds my soul.
Mm-hmm.
But I notice it really quickly. I'm like, oh, was it worth it?
No, I know.
And sometimes it was.
No.
Yeah, but
And a
when
lot of
you're-
times it's like,
Mhm.
that was so greasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, give me
Do
a
you-
bucket of water to cleanse it out.
Do you ever get a Big Mac attack?
Hey.
No.
I get them once in a while,
And
and then it ruins
I get
my afternoon.
it's more the quarter pounder for me.
Oh,
but
there you go.
I avoid the cheese anyways. But honestly, yeah. Do I get the odd McDonald's craving? I love French fries.
Yeah.
The thing is, when
I
you're
love
healthy,
them.
though, your body has a better way of pushing out what comes in that's not healthy. It's one
Totally.
thing like making that a lifestyle, but your body rejects all the bad stuff when you're in a good position. So you can cheat sometimes and allow yourself to enjoy things that you do.
Your body purges it better,
Yeah.
processes it better. Absolutely.
But do you find that people resist? Because I think we've talked about this before. It's just the idea of changing a whole lifestyle is huge. Because half the time people are even thinking about what their lifestyle is or how damaging it could be. And then there's the whole talk about, hey, all this would need to change for better health. How many people are actually open to that?
Well, it's funny. I've had a few newer patients in the past 3-4 months, and 2 cases stand out where there's as you saw, there's a section of intake form that says, how committed are you to helping on a scale of 0 to 10? And anyone below a 10, I ask why. I simply want to know, what's your resistance? And the 2 stories that came up, I don't want to change my lifestyle. I'm too busy, too stressed, too this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell me 16 things to do, I don't want to or I
Yeah.
can't. And my exciting answer is always, step 1 is let's see what chiropractic may do without doing any lifestyle changes, because
That's fair.
people go to a pain clinic and they're in, whether it's chronic pain or short-term accident-based, and they get hit with massage, acupuncture, physiotherapy, stimulation, everything.
Mhm.
And when at the end, if they're feeling better, awesome. What worked?
I know.
Who knows? And I'm not, again, those clinics
Right.
help people, it's all good. But my focus, my specialty, my desire, let's take one thing at a time. Let's put chiropractic in your lifestyle. How are you going to change? Let's see if you need nutritional changing, secondary,
Mhm.
light things, more water, less toxins. Do you need to exercise more? Get out and walk. Little things that can sometimes have huge changes. And if they don't have big changes, it's about a gradual change. And some people say, okay, I need to change my lifestyle, or I'm at this subpar health level. I know why. I have something better,
Mhm.
and they're accepting. I don't force massive change in anyone, because typically they'll self-destruct. There's that,
They get
I
overwhelmed.
can't, they'll
then
be
you fully pull
overwhelmed, it's like,
back.
and they don't want it. I'd rather have something better in their life than take away all the support
Right.
mechanisms, whether it's too much TV, whether it's, again, there's comfort eating that people have, and they put on the weight and they know it,
Mhm.
and they're not ready to take that stimulus away. Chiropractic makes them more aware, plain and
Mhm.
simple, to turn on the nervous system, to make that power communication back up. People, they'll just feel the difference, and either they're frustrated because they don't want to make changes, and I see that happen, or the bug eyes happen, like, wow, I need to make changes. And I'm ready to make changes now that I know it's not difficult. So yeah, it
Baby
happens.
steps.
There's big fear. And even someone goes to a health practitioner and they get a prescription or a surgical recommendation and they're frightened by it. They don't always look to alternative sources. They just wait and kind of panic. And that's what I'm frustrated by, is people aren't listening to themselves. So my message is listen to what your body's saying. And if your innate description says don't do that, it should be something over here, go do it. Go find out. And don't be afraid to have a consultation with someone. There's almost that fear of, if I take the first step, I have to take.
Right.
You know, it's
all of
almost
them.
like, when I think about it, it's like, you know, once you've identified a problem, whatever it might be, whether there's a health issue or you're in pain or
Yep.
you're just not feeling good about yourself, whatever it is, once you identify a problem, it's like, look around for a solution. I mean, it sounds obvious, but some people
But
don't even
it's-
do that, right? They just complain all the time.
They wait. There's a little plaque in the office that says 5 most dangerous words in the world are maybe it will go away. We are all guilty of thinking it, myself included.
Right.
But I listen to my body, and I know I can't explain it, but I know the difference between what feels like an adaptation or a compensation, or what feels like that's not good. Address it.
Yeah.
The
And
sad,
most people can't discern
yeah.
the difference.
well, I guess the sad thing is people look at even listening to yourself as an alternative choice versus the natural way, because everything has become alternative. You know, medicine is the way, so
Well, it's
people don't
the,
want to
yeah,
question.
it's the main way,
Yeah.
and everything. More and more people, people are jumping ship more and more.
Yeah.
It's definitely apparent, or they're at least pulling away from the drug and surgery first approach. And by all means, I had ankle surgery 20 years ago, and thankfully the surgery put back together what needed it, and thank goodness for morphine and Demerol. I would have been in agony if not for that, but it's not to live on.
Exactly.
That had a specific purpose and a specific time period, and it was done in this, and I had Tylenol 3s after wisdom teeth surgery again. Thank goodness for those wicked painkillers
When it's necessary.
when it's
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people, my home pharmacy consists of vitamins. I don't have a painkiller in sight. And I've had people, do you have a Tylenol? I'm like, no, and I probably will never buy any. And even if I feel a bit lousy one day for, a stressed reason, I let the symptom guide me. Say, all right, just ease it up. Drink some water, have something to eat, take a nap.
It's another escape.
Well, it's
for
an
people.
escape, and it's, I think media and pharmaceutical media train everyone to act fast and get those symptoms relieved quickly. And it's, what's easier, making the way to a chiropractic clinic for an adjustment, or, oh, I've got this pill in my cabinet, it's so quick.
Especially if OHIP's not covering it, right? That's a big
Right.
And price
consideration for
is a factor too.
Yeah.
You know,
And what gets me though is like we know, like, what is it? Healthcare's like over 50% of the provincial budget or something, like some ridiculous amount. Like we're just spending so much on healthcare, and a lot of it seems to be more and more is going to drugs, and it's going and also that these aren't even choices made by individual consumers anymore. Often the provincial government is making a decision to purchase millions of dollars worth of pharmaceuticals and
someone, who do you think's
dispensing them.
persuading them to buy it?
I don't know.
It's a whole
doesn't
other
even need to
show
be
we
said.
should have. Yeah.
That would be another topic for hours of discussion.
For sure.
But
But you're talking about, really, we need to take personal responsibility for health. We need to become our own doctor, listen to our own intuition about that. That seems, in a way, if I think about it, it seems like common sense to me. But on the other hand, it seems like it's a really quite a different mindset than what was common maybe 30 years ago.
which direction?
Where the doctor was the expert. I think we've moved from a culture where we really did look up to doctors.
They were the piece, the gatekeeper for life. Absolutely.
Yeah. And there was so much respect for them, and it was almost like, yeah, you really need to listen to what the doctor is saying.
Right.
And same for lawyers too. Those kinds of professions. But to I think I guess my question is: are we really? Do you see that we're really moving away from that? Are we really? Are we en masse taking more responsibility for our health?
I feel like the younger generations, we're Gen, I don't even know what generation, like, I never keep track.
We've run out of letters now.
We have. But I think my parents are baby boomers, right? Born in the 40s, 50s. Is that?
Yeah, 50s, early 50s is.
They're in their 60s, I think.
Oh, we're talking the years. I'm like.
Sorry, no, parents are in their 60s, born in the late
Right.
40s, so they're baby boomers,
Yes.
right? So that generation still latches on to. If my doctor says no, I can't do it.
Absolutely.
Our generation, you're included, and it the age gap is growing. They are listening better. There is more alternative health option out there.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. When the medical doctor and the chiropractor and not many other people were around in the recent years, you only had two options.
Yeah.
And it was fix my back or come in for the other option. Like those were things that happened, and other, all issues were semi-addressed through, drugs or surgery, or just wait and rest. The more that alternative therapists are out there in many ways and who are all doing a positive listen to your body message, I think the more people are realizing, oh, yeah, I just need a little coaching, a little guidance, perhaps some natural supplementation.
Or sometimes you just need to know the right questions to ask.
Absolutely.
You may not know the answer, but you have a question, and find the right person to ask that question
Absolutely.
to, like a chiropractor
Definitely.
or a doctor or some kind of other alternative practitioner.
And you, sorry, go ahead.
No.
And you mentioned finances, and it comes up a lot that some people don't walk in the front door of a non-OHIP service because they just know they can't afford it. And some of that's kind of BS, that there are a lot of affordable services. Others are more expensive, and there's a lot of perception that one of the guys who said, I don't want to change my lifestyle, and he thinks you're telling me to change my bed, and good beds are $10,000. And I said, number one, you can get a good bed for a lot less.
That's right. Let's not jump the gun here.
Like the top of the line at Sleep Country
Exactly.
Canada. I'm like, A, I didn't know that existed. B, I know a guy who knows a guy, and I've been on a great mattress. It happens. For like, $1,000 quality, durable, comfortable mattress. And I said, your lifestyle probably won't have to change. What I want people to be aware of too is, if you have financial concerns, go in and ask about it. I pride myself in more recent time realizing that there is an issue with people not getting health care because of finances. And I open up to say, I don't let them stand in the way. I have a service, there is a value, but it's about exchange. It's not about I have a set fee and that's what it's always going to cost, because I've changed that relationship with a lot of people, and I'm seeing so many healthier people who want what I'm offering at a different exchange rate, and there's big smiles and excitement, and I just couldn't care less about my specific adjustment cost being fulfilled. And if people can pay it, I expect it, and if they can, we'll figure out something else.
That's the way they used to do it in the old days, before OHIP.
That's about
too,
true
right?
healing and helping.
And the whole, OHIP, no one realizes the absurd costs of healthcare that are, brain surgery, who knows how many hundreds of thousands.
And part of it is there's no breaks anymore. Like in the old days, there was, if you couldn't afford it, you couldn't afford it. And so therefore, the price might come down a little. But now it's like, they just bill OHIP.
And no one knows the wiser. And it just, like my dad broke his knee or cracked his kneecap 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, surgery done. All he paid for was the crutches, $60. I mean,
but he doesn't know what did that cost the province, right? Or the people, really, ultimately.
And again, emergency case, by all means, he needed that surgery.
Yeah.
It's all of the doctor's visits, all the regular stuff that nothing happens, or it's a prescription handout, or it's fearful. Like my back hurts and I waited in the emergency room for 4 hours. If people started spending a little money at other facilities, the government would save, and you know what? And maybe the healthcare reimbursement system would change. I mean, that's a kind of a crapshoot. Like that's so flipped upside down that
But that's a whole
worth-
show. That's a whole series of shows,
It's worth
Dr.
thinking
Josh.
about
How
and
do you,
talking about.
how do you reform the Medicare
and
system?
you know what? I I wipe my hands of that. I just know that I do what I do, and
Yeah.
there's a service and there's a jar or whatever.
But that's important to talk about that, because I use the Western medicine as a tool, because I do listen to my own body. So I go in and tell doctors usually what test that I'm interested in having.
Yeah.
I take my results and I bring it to my Eastern therapist, and that's what I've done for many years.
Like there's times you need an MRI, a CT scan, a something in more detail. Like, go get it. Like there are amazing medical technologies and assessment devices. It's all the 6 inches between the ears that affect most of us. And I've had the outpatient. I'm not really listening. I'm on my own. Well, this is what you need. And the moment I shut up and I just listen, and I ask the right questions, we get to make magic.
All right. Well, obviously, for people watching this right now and they're resonating with you, Dr. Josh, they can come and see you. And what's the best way for them to?
Website is joshuagelber.com, and email is joshua@labelleclinic.com. Comes directly to me. If they have any questions, curiosities, or concerns.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Josh, as
Thank
always,
you.
for coming in.
Or on Facebook, Joshua Gelber. I'm there too. I'm all over the map.
I hope you're not wasting all your time on Facebook.
No, I check the updates, but I don't.
That's right.
Good.
No, I don't waste time.
All
I
right.
don't have time to waste.
Okay, Dr. Josh, thank you.
Thank you as always.
As always.